When you connect, you become a leader worth following. When you connect, people trust you. When you connect, they get it more clearly. When you connect, they want to not only do what you've asked them, but they want to exceed your expectations. Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast. Thanks for joining me on another episode. I am so grateful that you're choosing to spend a few minutes, a little bit with me as we continue to chat about leadership and thinking and these different principles that will hopefully make us better. And, I really believe, as I often say, that I am committed and I feel called to help you unleash your leadership potential, because you have a circle of influence and an area in your life that I can't reach, and you are. And if we can all work together and collaborate, we will make a greater impact. And so, sometimes the way these episodes go, we talk about topics that are simple and basic. We do it in a solo episode format, or I bring on a guest. But I just wanted to bring to your attention, like, even when it's simple, even when it sounds basic, I want you to really reflect and think about that. Because the little things matter, the simple things matter, the small things matter, and we need to be able to make sure that we're being intentional about how we develop ourselves. And it might sound simple, but it's not always easy. And so consider that, and don't just write it off thinking like, I've heard that before. Actually ask yourself, am I actually applying it? Am I doing something with it? Is it actually making me better? On that note, today, I wanted to bring you a solo episode on communication. And so to kind of give you a better understanding on why this is important, because there's different levels of communication. There's different things that we can do with that. There's speaking from stage, there's speaking one-on-one, there's leading teams. There's a big dynamics when it comes to communication. But I want to chat more on the kind of lower level relational communication. And so I want to tell you a really quick thing. Maybe I'm going to share a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, and it's regarding driving. One of my pet peeves is when people don't know how to signal correctly. Potentially, they don't signal at all, or they only partially signal. And the reason it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, because yes, it's a road safety, vehicle safety thing, but it's a communication thing. If you think about the purpose of a signal light on a car is to communicate to other drivers and other vehicles what you are going to do or what you are doing. And so whether you're behind a vehicle to know if they're going to change lanes or if they're going to continue going straight or whatever, it's important to know. And if they're oncoming traffic and you're watching them and they're going to turn and you're waiting to turn, it's important to know what that vehicle is deciding to do, because it can be a safety thing and it can save lives and it could prevent accidents. And so it's one of those pet peeves of mine. I'll be okay. I'm all right. There's days that it doesn't bug me as much and it's fine. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking about leadership and communication, because this is a prime example, a great example of how some of us as leaders communicate to our teams and to our people. We either don't communicate at all, and we think we are because we're just present and we're in front of them, and we think that they should know everything because somehow we are just passing it on mentally to them, and it should just land in their minds and they should automatically know what I am thinking. Or we partially communicate up front, and we start out by communicating and then we stop and we expect them to know what the end result should be. Or we don't communicate up front and we last minute decide to tell them something and we feel that they should have already known what I wanted them to do, what we wanted them to do. And so we have gaps in our communication, and we need to realize that that is probably costing us a lot of effectiveness and a lot of good qualities and of leadership, and it's costing us productivity and our people to being able to be led well. And so this is important to me, because if we learn how to communicate, it could change the game of where we lead. Now, I read a book a long time ago by John Maxwell. And you've heard me quote him often because personally, I think he's a great leader. He's written a lot of books, tons of books, and he has a lot of great leadership principles. And one of the books he wrote was called Everybody Communicates, but Not Everybody Connects. Now, I read that a long time ago, and it really impacted my life even to this day. And it's so true. So many of us communicate and we expect that to be enough, but we don't do it with the intention to connect. We don't do it with the intention to really impact. And so I want you to think about that. Maybe you feel like you speak clearly. Maybe you feel like you can, speak out everything you want to say to them and everything that's on your mind, you know how to spit it out. But is it truly connecting? Because as leaders, you got to remember something. If the people that you lead understand it, well, you need to take responsibility for that. If the people don't get your message or didn't understand what you communicated, it is still your problem. It is still your fault. As leaders, we need to take responsibility. We've talked about that before, right? And we need to understand that either way, whether our team gets it or doesn't get it, whether they heard us or didn't hear us, we need to take responsibility as leaders that the message becomes clear and it actually gets delivered to where it needs to go. And one way is that we need to be aware if our communication is lacking a few things. Are we even communicating potentially is a good question. And I mean, connecting is a big question, but are we actually communicating, or are we just running whatever we're running, whether that's in the family, whether that's in a relationship, friendships, whether that's at work, in our business, whatever it is? Do we communicate? Do we actually make an effort to, actually tell them and say, hey, this is how I want something done, or this is how I feel. This is what I've been thinking. So think on that for a moment. Are you actually even trying to communicate? Another part is when you do communicate, do you communicate to the fullest? Like when you start sending a message, whether you're speaking, emails, texting, whatever it is, do you actually follow through and finish your thought process to make sure that they understood clearly what you were trying to say? Or do you partially communicate and quit and you say, well, they'll figure out the rest? I get it. Some of you might be kind of rolling your eyes and going, well, I want them to take initiative. I want them to take the lead and I want them to kind of figure it out. There's room for that. True. We want people to be creative. We want them to think a little bit on them by themselves and to be able to figure things out and problem solve. It's great characteristics. I get it. But sometimes we lean so much on that we don't realize that it's actually not their fault or their problem. They're not even lacking any of those skills. You still haven't clearly communicated vision, mission, purpose, values, and you expect them to be in line with everything, but you've never fully communicated that to them. So I want you to think about that and really dissect that a little bit and say, okay, I want to make sure that I'm always doing my job. So then when it comes down to it, it's never going to be me that they're going to blame for not actually executing or communicating. The other part is maybe you're a latecomer on the communication. As I said, that person that signals late, they're already kind of going into the lane when they're driving, and the last second they go, oh yeah, by the way, I'm coming to the lane. Yeah, thanks, tips, right? Well, don't be that kind of leader either. Make sure that you communicate all the time, all the way through. And if you're being a last minute communicator, then change and make sure that you are addressing it correctly and don't play the blame game and blame your people because you lack the foresight to know how to communicate to them properly. Partial communication is not full communication. And so we need to become better. And if you're not good at it, well, then there's definitely a lot of resources. There's definitely a lot of tools on how to improve that communication style. But if you're a leader, communication is going to be essential. It's not if you want to, not if you like it, not if it doesn't apply in your industry or not. Communication is across the board, because when it comes to leadership, we've talked about this, it's a relational thing, it's a connection thing, it's a people thing. And the one way that we get to invest in people, the one way that we get to win with people is by communicating. and everything matters. I mean, I can go into even more. We can talk about body language. We can talk about signs. We can talk about the way we write. There's so much to communication to cover. But the idea behind this episode is that we want to talk about communication in general. We can talk more, how-tos later on. But I just want to get you thinking, how is your communication doing? How are you doing with that? Are you actually aware that that should be one of your key principles and one of your key skill sets that you need to practice and put into work as a leader? Because everybody wants to be communicated to well. And most importantly, we want to do it to connect. When you connect, you become a leader worth following. When you connect, people trust you. When you connect, they get it more clearly. When you connect, they want to not only do what you've asked them, but they want to exceed your expectations. Connecting with your people is super important. And so I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you that wherever you're at, wherever you can you try to communicate to connect? Connect with your people because you're on the same team. It's not you versus them. It's not them versus you. You're on the same team. And if you do have a proper mission, vision, purpose, values set up, then you'll realize that that's what puts the team together. That's what creates a better culture. It doesn't matter where it is. We can talk about one-on-one relationships. We can talk about a marriage. We can talk about families. It all applies. This stuff that I'm talking about is not a business principle. This is not a team principle only. This is an everyday, in everything type of principle. And so let's get better at communicating. Let's make that a priority. Let's know that the little things that we do in communication matter. It all matters if we want to win and we want to accomplish whatever we're trying to win at or accomplish it. So I want you to think about that. I want you to consider it. Do some reflection. Figure out what area of communication you need to work on. Is it that you over communicate, or is it that you don't communicate at all? Do you partially communicate? Are you upfront and you don't ever finish your thought process, or you always come late to the conversation or to the direction, and you always give last minute direction and signs to something that needs to get done? Whatever it is, you'll figure that out. But make a priority to figure out your weakness in that and work on it, because you must. If you don't work on it, you're going to be a leader that people do not want to follow and people don't want to work for or be under the responsibility of. And so be that leader that works on themselves so that they can be the best and the most effective for their people, so then the people can be set up to win. Because if you do that, you're going to impact and you're going to be able to bring up great leaders, which should be our desire as leaders, not only to be the best leader in ourselves, but to bring up even better leaders than we are and be able to guide them and direct them and show them the way. All right. Thanks for joining me on this quick episode. I have a guest coming up next week. I'm excited. You're going to not want to miss it. We're going to talk about some amazing things. But for now, remember, you put these things into action, you're going to be better, and it's going to help everybody else, because it's a win-win when the leader leads well. Talk to you soon. Catch you on the next one.